good morning, wherever you happen to be. I'm in the garage again. No police outside this time, so all is mostly okay in the world. I was saying yesterday, we had some officers come over and um, they tried to verify the VIN number on this car because, in order to transfer the title in California, you got to do that. While I can see the VIN is in the record of the car doesn't exist. So it doesn't exist here, it doesn't exist in Nevada. So at some point, this car was in an accident, and it seems like the information for the car was never transferred over. So um, I don't know what to do. I'm going to try to register it through the DMV, and I guess I'll find out when they let me know what's going on. The hair is slightly less crazy today than it was yesterday. For everybody who made a comment on it, I was pretty amused. It happens. I don't know what else to say about it. But let's get going. I don't want to get eaten by mosquitoes for too long, and I don't know if I'm going to last a whole hour out here because I've got a lot of other stuff to take care of on this fine Sunday, including driving way out to Bakersfield to pick up some more parts. But I think last time we spoke, which was yesterday, I want to do this as often as I can, but it really depends on my schedule. But last time when we were talking, I said we'd go over the list of parts that I either have or that I need or that I'm gonna have to need for this whole process to work. Now, mind you, I'm collecting parts for two cars because eventually the blue car there is also gonna go through a bit of a transformation, but in the meantime, priority is going to this silver one, which happens to be the same color as the one we're working with. I'll turn the camera around and we'll start talking. So, yesterday when we left off, I talked about having to drain the rest of the radiator and the engine of coolant. I don't know if there's oil in there as far as the engine goes, but all the fluids are going to have to come out. I don't know if the wheels are spinning currently because last time I tried, they were being a little stubborn. We'll place the camera down and get to the back wheels at some point, but as you can see by the jack over there, please don't mind my mess. We're in the middle of not actually owning this home and living where we can until we figure out what happens over the course of the next 6 months. Could be moving back in with my parents, which I don't mind. I think I just continue and do the same thing there. But I got the car up on jacks. The 4-ton jacks, which are the ones in the back, are a little bit taller than the 2.5-ton ones up front. The car doesn't quite weigh, 1.5 tons, but it's around there. And so 4 tons and 2.5, more than plenty, a little bit overkill. My floor jack is the problem. It doesn't quite get the car high enough, and so the back is a little bit higher than the front, but I got it lifted up so that I'm working with a car that's leaned slightly forward but flat relatively. Everything is easier to access from here, so makes it a bit easier for me at least. It feels weird because so far I've been working with the whole front of the car what feels like 6 inches higher than it is right now, and so I feel like I'm looking down into the car compared to how it's been, which was lifted upwards. But given that the back wheels are now a little over 6 inches off the ground, I think it tracks with where we're at and where we're headed. But we're going to go through the parts list of where we're at, where we're going, and what we're going to need. Basically, we're going to talk about the mechanical stuff because The electrical stuff is a bit more complicated, and that's going to be what we dig into when we really got to dig in. But right now, the mechanical stuff is the stuff that we are in control of and mostly in charge of. So, as you can see, there's an engine here connected to the transmission. The engine is going to be what we use. It's the original, 2.0. Yeah, it's a 2-liter flat 4 turbo. So the standard EJ20 or 205. EJ205 is kind of the car that came in this. My neighbor's Corvette waking up. But basically, this EJ205 is going to get popped out. We're going to toss on a new turbo. The downpipe is in the car because it was disconnected and just dangling there. And so, I've got most of what I need until the exhaust. I don't have a turbo. I'm going to use the AC off of the old car. That way I don't have to disconnect AC lines and that kind of stuff and let disastrous chemicals into the beautiful California air, even though it's pretty crusty right now. And then once that's out, I'm gonna have to use a different radiator. So basically, when you do one of these swaps, the radiator that comes on these cars not only doesn't quite fit and needs an adapter, but it's also too fat because the engine bay on the older car is smaller. And so this nice gap that you see between the radiator fans and where the pulley and belt would be is much, much smaller and sometimes has a risk of touching. And so I'll end up doing a smaller fan setup. The one side note to that is on those older Subarus, the way that these fans worked was that only one would run if the car got hot enough. And then if you turn the AC on, then the other one would run as well. And in front of that, you have the AC condenser here. And so you can see that it doesn't quite line up. And so this is the actual radiator, the one that keeps the car cool. And then the AC condenser for your AC and all is up here. As you can see by the stick poking out over there. I'll just give you this angle. As you can see by that stick, this one's got a hole in it, and all of these little fins are quite bent and bashed up, so probably not going to be able to use it. And if you look at this angle, you can see a nice curve on that. So clearly it's had some sort of a front end accident. Already the bumper and whatnot is gone. It did run and drive early this year when the guy who I bought it off of purchased it. So I know that less than a year ago this thing turned on. I know that he's taken enough parts off of it where it doesn't turn on anymore. Clearly the battery's gone and a few other important things. So I feel like I'm in a good position to be able to unplug this guy, drain it out, and pull it out of the car. Obviously it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's what's ahead of us. Now let's get to the parts. I'm going to do a quick plug here while I've got it. Most of what I'm doing, fortunately, I've got some love from a company called Drop Gear Coffee here. They send me their pit stop pods here, which are their pod style coffee machine things. They've got nice beans and stuff too. I'm a nobody, but it's a friend's business, and I like to support the small people. Not even small people. Small businesses trying to do something cool. Let's see. Normal video because Stream Manager is very confusing here. So let me show you the parts. So this is the rear differential off of an automatic Subaru Impreza. It's in great condition, rotates pretty freely, has the mounting points as well as a couple of the control arms for the sway bar with the sway bar end links on them. It just mounts right up to the chassis there, and then basically will connect to the drive shaft. The automatic drive shaft out of the year 2000 car is the same length as, or 0.25 inches, so a quarter inch in difference from this body style. So I'm hoping I can reuse the drive shaft, but really I won't know until we're in there and doing the thing. So I'm gonna just say that we'll do our best and see what happens, but until we come up to those problems and have those issues, I kind of don't want to jump the gun here. Now, everything's in boxes, so it's a little hard to show. However, there are some cool goodies, and let's see if, oh look, an empty box, how useful. So under that table there is the automatic transmission. Very difficult to see, a little bit harder to get to at the moment, but let's take a walk. This is a new 2.5 RS front bumper. It's going to go on the blue one when I replace the front grille and some of those parts that are all mashed up there. This is the automatic transmission here. It is missing, as you can see, the torque converter. So I'm going to have to figure out a few things as far as how to get it to actually connect up to the car. Because there's something called a flex plate or a drive plate, and a flex plate displacer, and then those connect on the engine side, basically where you would expect your clutch and flywheel to go, so on this side, and then on this side where the transmission would go, to the left of this little separation, that's where your transmission begins. And so your torque converter, which basically acts as the clutch and flywheel on behalf of the automatic transmission, will basically turn that fluid motion into actual motion in the transmission, and that'll drive your front and rear wheels via the transmission and axles and drive shaft and the rear diff. So that's kind of the engine back side of the car, which connects up pretty much the same. As you can see here, it's actually nice to see the wiring harness. Let me get a stick so I can point at stuff. Lucky for me, I have one right here, volunteered from my plants. So back here you see a clip, you see another one right over here and another one right there. So those are all of your transmission inputs, basically, that show your car how fast you're going, and oil temperature for your transmission and things like that. And then over on this side you have your starter motor right here. So once the starter motor is out, a manual transmission starter motor is different than an automatic, simply because it has to handle the fluid and the torque and everything a little bit differently. You have your neutral position switch sensor and a couple other things, none of which bolt up into the new car, which is why the wiring harness business has to get done. Let's see. Yesterday I had mentioned wanting to try and get the exhaust headers off, right? So you have the intake on the top side, you have the headers on the bottom. If the headers are out of the way, you see all this white spludge and nonsense, even all the way down at the bottom. Basically, as far as I can tell, that's coolant. That's what's in the pan below, the red fluid. But basically the coolant is splashed over everywhere for various reasons. Mostly probably because it's been disconnected by whoever was in here before me. And ideally, I would like to clean it all up and make it nice and clean and neat before everything goes in the new car, because I think I would feel pretty upset if the engine was this dirty and grimy. And I knew I could have done something about it. A degreaser and a wire brush and some time, I guess, will probably do the trick. And it'll test my patience as usual, because sometimes I just want to get the job done, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. So what we'll do, we'll take the rear wheels off first. I just need to confirm the socket size. I think it's a 17, might be a 19. I'm just going to use my handy dandy wrench here instead. Let's see, probably this could be. This works. Okay. It's only a couple, so not a huge deal. But I'd rather take it off, get the wheels off, out of the way. That way I just have a good visual. You'll see in other pictures, I'm not the smallest of dudes. And so my concern, and the reason why I mentioned that at all, is getting under the car. Shouldn't be an issue, but as anything else, it easily could be. But it's okay. I've lost 45 pounds in the last year, and I've been working out consistently, so I'm hoping that counts for something. So, got the wheel off here. As you can see, it's quite rusty and crusty, but these are disc brakes. As you can see, somebody decided to put some STI coilovers in here and get acquainted with the mud. I actually spent a hot minute hosing this thing down, trying to clean it, so the fact that it's still this disgusting after that just tells me I probably should have had a pressure washer. But that's okay, that's life. That's all you can do about it. So we're actually gonna lay the tire down and stick it under the car. I know there's already one there, as many of you will observe, but it's cheap insurance to make sure you don't get crushed. And I don't want to get crushed. When I went to my local AutoZone before I left for Reno to go pick up this car, I took my tires and I bought a bunch of lug nuts, and unfortunately they gave me lug nuts that are two different sizes. As you can see, this one here, focus, is 12.5, and then you can see these ones here are 1.25, so 1.5, 1.25. The thread was not correct either, because it just didn't fit correct, so it sucked. I didn't have enough lugs for all the wheels to have all the bolts, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But me being a sucker for trying to do things right the first time, it did bother me a bit. Yeah, I don't use anything fancy. I've got a couple of Ryobi tools that I've been using for just a few years, and just a bunch of Husky bits and bobs, because there's too many things, and it wasn't that expensive, and the case was nice, so I knew everything would be in one place. And so that's how we got to where we're at. Now, you'll see eventually that I have 6 steel wheels instead of fewer. 4, I guess, is the correct number. And the reason why is because the steel wheels that I have and the ones that I'm taking off are 15 inches. And that's normal for a car that runs 15-inch wheels. However, it's not normal for a WRX, because the front brakes on a WRX are kind of massive, and well, that sucks. The front wheels on a WRX are kind of massive, and I had to borrow the ones or buy them off them in the moment that the gentleman I bought the car off of had. And so got all my lug nuts here, and no, this wheel's stuck. So I'm gonna put my handy dandy pointer stick away because it's too thin for this job, and while I'm tempted to use it, it's not gonna work. And sit here and yank it for a little bit, so maybe it'll work. Let's see. Let's see. Looks like need some persuasion here. Normally I would use a hammer. But I don't know if the hammer's gonna be working. As you can see, I probably don't have all the tools, but we'll figure it out in the end. God, this whole running gear is just crappy as heck. You know, this wheel did not fuse on. This wheel was not fused on when I put it on, but in the space of 20 days or so, it seems to be acting what you would call a fool. And this is why you're all on this journey with me, because sometimes you just gotta figure it out. Hammond! Okay, let's see. hello, one viewer, whoever you are. Thanks for joining me. Clearly, clearly, we're having a good time. And so, we'll figure it out. Okay, let's go. So let's rotate his back. And yeah, it looks pretty rusty. If I do say so myself. But okay, that worked. One whack of the hammer and the wheel has moved. Alright, so let's take a look while we're down here. There's an exhaust that's supposed to be here that clearly isn't. It's still pretty crusty and rusty in here, but it's not super bad. The diff, which is what matters, is in good shape. The axle, which I'll be using most likely, is not the cleanest. And actually, I don't even know if rebuilding an axle is advisable. But if it is, then I'll rebuild it, because I'm on a budget. Maybe one day, if I ever make a bunch of money, I'll be able to do it right. But clearly this sway bar is pretty rusty. I probably won't have to get my tetanus shot today, but as you can see, other than where it says White Line, which is the brand, and they're actually a really well-known brand too, it's a little crusty looking. Another boot over there in the distance that may or may not need my help. And then we'll have to just figure it out as we go. Okay, cool. I was worried for a second you couldn't hear me. Now, you can probably maybe make out the spider web there in the distance, just in front of this tank, right in the front. I don't like spiders. Now that the wheel's off, I can't rotate it to show you, but if you look down this line, you can take a straight line from the diff. It's actually a little more centered. You can see the drive shaft right a little bit further, and then all the way up front you see the transmission again. So same thing, but automatic. This one looks similar to the one that I'll be putting in, but obviously the one I'm putting in is also meant for the automatic. The reason why it matters is because per rotation of the drive shaft, it correlates with a rotation of the wheel. And so the ratio is 4.11. The ratio is 4.11. Got my shoulder stuck in the car here. And what that means is per 4.1 rotations of the transmission, the wheel of the car rotates one time. And why that matters and why that's important is because a transmission has a same ratio, and so if the front and rear don't match up on that ratio, then the wheels are going to be spinning at different speeds, and ultimately that can mess up not just your tires and wheels, but it'll also mess up the internal gearing, because it's always at war with itself, and the faster you go, the worse it gets. So progress. Let's go take that wheel off. Walked by it, didn't even think. And then just slide it here right next to this one and keep going. There's that. There's that. shift things around a little bit. There we go. So, this side as well, let's take a peek. It's pretty crusty, but it does rotate, which is somewhat promising. As you can hear, it doesn't happily spin, so probably a matter of taking the calipers off, and they're gonna have to come off anyways. Okay, nice. So the front is spinning now, which is comforting. I was worried. And still can't spin the engine, which actually I might take a big wrench and try and give it a smidge of a rotation. Let's see if let's see. Where did I put you? So, put you right here for now. No, it's too far away. Well, now I know I need to bust out the old camera stand again. In the meantime, this is the power steering fluid pump and reservoir. Right. Come on now. Cooperate. Sorry. We tried. I'm gonna guess that it's a 21. And let's take a peek. Does it fit? Nope. Too small. One inch does not fit. Too big. Try 7/8. It does. And the engine does spin, actually pretty freely. So I feel very good about that. So there's many ways to test an engine. Making sure it spins freely is just a small part. Basically making sure that nothing internally is too messed up. Yeah, I still need something. Well, my hands are weak, so can't really make any excuses there. But that's okay. So yeah, this whole radiator disaster, I'm gonna at least try and get the shields off the headers. That way I can access the bolts that bolt them to the engine itself. And so for that, we got to go back under the car here, and figure out what size those bolts are. So a little bit of trial and error here, but since the bolts are on that side, I figure we can probably just hang out over here and figure it out. Let's see. And clearly, while I've watched many YouTube videos, I hate that noise. It's not enough YouTube videos to have memorized all of the numbers and whatnot. So we're gonna put our coolant tray back up our tray here. Just turn the camera, maybe flat. I'm actually using it to see right now. So there's the engine.